Hey gang, we're looking today at a knife very kindly lent by my buddy Nelson to the channel to have a review of. This is the ENZO Camper. So this is a knife made by the Italian knife company called ENZO, and this is in D2 steel and micarta handle with red, I believe, G10 liners. So I'll get some size comparisons out of the way first. Let's have a look at it next to a pretty common standard, the Mora Companion. You see it's got a little bit longer of a blade. It's about a 5-inch blade on the camper there. And you'll look at it next to a Falcon F1, again sort of similar size to that Companion there, much more of a sort of small, stocky, robust knife. 1 second, look at this idiot. You alright, Cedric? Yeah, I'm good. Anyway, back to it. And then against a couple of my favourite knives, so this is the Zero Tolerance 0180. It's like a tactical, hard use kind of knife. This is the Lion Steel T5, sort of very similar vein, really, like just a general purpose camp knife. And then what have we got? Let's look at it next to a big survival knife. This is the Falcon A1, just there. So that's like a much bigger sort of class of knife in general. So what does the ENZO Camper do differently to other knives? Because it is a pretty neutral looking, pretty standard bushcraft knife, really, isn't it? Well, the most interesting thing about this knife is that it's actually a kit knife. So when Nelson got the knife, it came with pieces and with the studs, whatever they're called, the the rivets there, the brass tubing and whatnot, and a blade, obviously, and you build it yourself, and you pay a little bit less money for the effort, which is fine with most people, I would suggest. So therefore you get the opportunity to sort of finish the handles and everything as you want them. So that's like the most sort of that's where this knife kind of stands out. Apart from that, though, it's just a very well done, very simple kind of bushcraft or general camp knife. So I'll run up a picture with the specs on it, which is probably on the screen right now. It's a very modest size, very similar again, as I said, to the Lion Steel T5 in terms of both blade length and then of course thickness as well. The Lion Steel T5 does have a bit of a crown spine, but the fat part of the blade is about the same. Again, Lion Steel's got a much different grind though, so what you get here is a sort of a bit of a better slicer grind, whereas this is a little bit better at digging into wood and really sort of making some abrupt and sudden cuts. So then we've got a flat spine, which is good for striking a ferro rod. You've got a low Scandi type grind with an additional micro bevel sort of relief there, so it's not got that delicacy of a full Scandi. And then you've got you're fairly thin on this one micarta handle, so compared to say the Lion Steel there, which has a little bit more girth on it there in the handle. Not a huge deal. Fits very well in the hand, so you can't really go wrong with a handle style this simple. A little bit of parrot beaking at the back if you do want to put it into more of a shopping roll. The guard at the front is fairly slim, like fairly small, so probably not the best knife for stabbing into things, because your finger may well pass that rather easily and go up onto the blade. So I did some testing with this knife. I went ahead and cut some a fair bit of wood. I did splitting and all that sort of thing just to test the integrity of the D2. I had a Boca Vox rolled once in D2 that split the first time I put it through wood. In hindsight, maybe I was a bit ambitious, but there you go. So I did all that sort of stuff with the knife, which I'll be rolling on the screen now. No problems at all with any of that sort of woodworking, harder use, pry, twisting, all that sort of stuff. The knife's definitely made for that purpose, which is really, really good. And then I went and cut up some onions, which is something you might do at camp. I usually bring onions with me when I go camping. I kind of like the taste of them, and you can sort of you fry them up on more or less anything, and it's something to eat that's different and good for you as well. And then I cut up some apples for my horse. And that did just fine at that as well. For a thicker blade, it actually does some pretty nice thin slicing, so not too bad at all. Very, very good there. So I'll just be running in some more demonstration and whatnot, but overall I'm really happy with the ENZO camper in D2. I think you pay about 100 bones for these, which isn't really too bad. I mean, it is a kit knife, so you have to have that extra little bit of time to build it yourself, but I think a lot of people, especially people who are into these sorts of knives, will probably get a bit out of that process as well. You're getting a pretty nice, lightweight, slim carry, low profile, really sort of visually neutral knife, so nothing that's really going to freak too many people out. It's got a good blade length. This is a good length for this type of task, so I always find like the F1s, I'm really used to using the F1, but I think a lot of people often wish it had a little bit more size in both dimensions for it. So, which is why sort of knives like the Gerber Strong Arm or the Lion Steel T5 are rather successful. But then it's not quite as massive and robust as, say, like a proper survival knife, which can be a little bit of a chore to carry around, and especially just given the weight and stuff, it is quite sort of dramatic pulling this thing out at camp because it's just big and bruisery looking, whereas this just looks like your old wood carving tools of old. But with some very cool new modern features. The steel's been a pretty good performer. I didn't do a rope cut test on this one because I didn't want to put a weird convex edge on Nelson's knife, but from everything it seems to be performing just as D2 would perform in terms of both holding a good edge, patinaing a little tiny bit. I'll just sand that off before I send it back there, Nelson, don't worry about that. And just being generally pretty tough and just a good old tool still. You can see why it's still put to good use in lots of the European knives. So overall, really happy with the ENZO camper, and it's it's something that I think if you are looking for a bit of a project, you probably would really enjoy grabbing one of these. Certainly have enjoyed having it around myself. I had this at about the same time as I had some other really kind of expensive knives, and it was just as good, to be honest. I always say with steel and your fixed blades, you don't need the best of the best stuff, I don't think anyway, as long as it's tough. And this has appeared to be rather tough. As long as it holds a decent edge, I just don't find the wood and food and things that I use my fixed blades for particularly challenge the edge retention too much anyway. So just fine of a knife. It comes with a pretty basic brown leather sheath, which I'll sort of show some photos of me wearing it, or show some vision of me wearing it now. And yeah, it does the job. It's very basic, of course, but it doesn't fall out when you hold it upside down. It does all the basic stuff that you'd want a sheath to do. Overall, yeah, this is just like a really basic package. Maybe for someone who wants to step up a little bit from just having a plastic and metal Mora like this one here. Maybe you want something a bit more, a little bit more robust even, a little bit more sort of, I don't know, prideful, something like that. I don't know, it might be a good sort of thing to scale your way up to an ENZO. They're a good company, and they do are really kind of well known for having really quality products and really well done steels especially. So there we go, the ENZO camper in D2. Hope you've enjoyed, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you very much, Nelson.